What if everything you've ever learned about human history is nothing but a beautifully illustrated lie? What if the timeline you memorized in school, the empires you admired, and the ancient world you imagine, are all part of a carefully staged illusion designed to keep you from asking the one question that truly matters? Where do we really come from, and what happened before us? What if the entire history of humanity isn't a factual record at all, but a carefully curated fable? A story stitched together in such a careless way that only someone who refuses to think critically could accept it without hesitation. For anyone who pauses long enough to examine the details, the official narrative collapses in seconds. Take the romanticized image of the Spartans. We're shown warriors wearing heavy bronze helmets, metal shields, and long spears, yet walking into battle wearing thin sandals. It looks dramatic, almost cinematic. But the moment you ask a practical question, the illusion cracks. Where did they obtain the metal for this equipment? Who mined the ore? With what tools? And how was the metal smelted? To melt ore, you need a container stronger than the metal you're trying to create, something that could withstand intense heat. That alone requires engineering far beyond the capabilities we attribute to the ancient world. And this is just one example out of thousands, one thread pulled from a tapestry that begins to unravel the moment you tug on it. Consider the origins of cities. According to mainstream historians, there are two explanations. 1. Villages slowly expanded into cities. 2. Some wandering mass of peasants, monks, or warriors suddenly decided to settle somewhere and construct a city complete with a cathedral and a grand theater, structures requiring precision, engineering, and resources. But here's the paradox: if villages naturally evolve into cities, why isn't that happening today? Even when a village grows to 10 times its size, we still call it a village. Why? Because the defining feature of a true city isn't population or size. It's infrastructure, most importantly, sewage. A centralized sewer network must be designed before the city exists. You cannot retroactively place it under a chaotic cluster of houses. It is literally the circulatory system of a city. But a sewer system requires topographical planning, engineering surveys, soil studies, groundwater analysis, and a master city plan drawn with precision tools. You cannot sketch such a design with a stick in the dirt. You need paper, specialized instruments, and trained engineers, skills supposedly non-existent in the eras when these ancient cities were built. If the very foundations of civilization were impossible for the people assigned to them, what does that say about the structures rising above those foundations? Look at Gothic cathedrals and medieval fortresses, these impossibly elegant towers of stone. Their walls remain perfectly straight after centuries. Their arches distribute weight with mathematical precision. Their stained glass survives storms that destroy modern buildings. And we're told they were built by illiterate laborers with ropes, wooden scaffolding, and primitive chisels. Just think about it. Today, even with electricity, machinery, cranes, and engineering software, we cannot build anything comparable in beauty or durability. And then there's the timeline problem. Many cathedrals supposedly took 200 or 300 years to build. How can a project last that long without precise architectural blueprints? How did multiple generations of workers, none formally educated, maintain perfect consistency over centuries? The official story collapses under its own weight. We're also shown museum artifacts, swords, helmets, armor, objects that look impressive under glass but fall apart under real scrutiny. Hold one in your hands, and the truth becomes obvious. The helmets are far too heavy to wear in battle. The swords are blunt, thick, and badly balanced. These are not weapons. They are ceremonial replicas crafted long after the periods they supposedly represent. It's as if history had to manufacture props to justify the stories written about them. Once you notice how many artifacts feel theatrical and how many buildings look impossible for their assigned era, the next question becomes unavoidable: did these periods ever exist at all? Or were they invented, painted, written, and then supported with fabricated objects? Then come the chronicles, the written backbone of history. These documents casually describe events happening thousands of miles away with detail that would require first-hand observation. Yet travel back then was slow, dangerous, and limited. And the military campaigns? Utterly unrealistic. Armies of hundreds of thousands marching across continents without railroads, trucks, refrigeration, or industrial logistics. Modern generals, with satellites and machinery, say such operations are nearly impossible even today. How then did Alexander the Great supply men across deserts? How did tiny wooden ships carry enough resources for the Spanish to conquer an entire continent? How did colonial empires build cities halfway across the world with equipment that wouldn't suffice to construct a small town today? The deeper you look, the more the historical narrative resembles a fantasy novel rather than a record of real events. Now compare the aesthetic, spiritual, and artistic richness of the so-called past to the cold utilitarianism of the present. Classical architecture radiates balance and beauty. Modern architecture resembles concrete boxes. The art of the past feels alive, the art of today feels disposable. We're told this is due to lost technologies. But that explanation contradicts everything we know about human progress. Knowledge accumulates, it doesn't vanish. If our ancestors were capable of feats we cannot match, then perhaps they weren't our direct ancestors at all. What if history is not a straight line but a series of resets, a cycle in which the world periodically reboots? And what if enduring monuments and masterworks survive those resets because they do not originate from humanity, but from something beyond us, something divine? In this theory, our world is not a playground but a proving ground, a place where souls are tested, challenged, and refined. Hardship exists not because of cosmic evil, but because difficulty is the mechanism through which we grow. The ancient idea of the polygon, a many-angled realm, symbolized a place of confinement and trial. Across cultures from the Bible to the Vedas to Buddhism, corners and angles are associated with punishment, isolation, and transformation. What if our world is that polygon? What if we are here because this is where souls are shaped? What if the history we are taught exists only to prevent us from discovering what we truly are? All of this began with a simple question about Spartan helmets. But that single doubt cracks the facade, revealing a hidden world beneath the narrative presented to us. If you want to go further, if you want to keep exploring the truth behind the illusion, share this with those who are ready and follow my Telegram channel. Some things can no longer be spoken openly on platforms like this. The link will be in the pinned comment.